Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Unlock Smarter Voice Solutions for Your Business. Please note that this webinar will be recorded. We are going to mute all attendees' microphones and videos to minimize distractions. If you have any questions during the session, please feel free to pop them in the Q&A section, and we'll go through them at the end. Before we begin, let's take a moment to respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands we're joining from today. In the spirit of reconciliation, ITConnexion acknowledges the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend their respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. We're thrilled to have you join us today for an insightful session where we'll explore how modern voice technologies can transform the way your business communicates. We're especially excited to be joined by two outstanding speakers, Mark Seraphim, ITC's very own Chief Customer Officer and Company Director, and Matthew Jameson, a Senior Leader at Access4. So without further ado, I'm handing the webinar over to Mark to kick things off.
Thank you, Jana, and thanks everyone for joining us today. I think this was an opportunity for us to sort of bring to light sort of the possibilities with modern voice technologies, especially for our clients and anyone else joining. I think a lot of people don't necessarily know that us as a managed service provider deal with and help our clients with phone solutions or cloud-based phone solutions. So many clients, many businesses are currently still using an on-premise PABX solution. And I think over the past probably 3 years, 4 years since COVID, that sort of transformed the way we work, both from the office and at home. Clients are working from co-working spaces, etc. So the opportunity to sort of move away from that traditional PABX solution has sort of accelerated, and we've been partnered with Access4 for about 3 to 4 years now, helping our clients with their voice requirements. So we thought it was a good opportunity to sort of let you all know what we can do for you, what Access4 helps us with, what the solutions are, and just an opportunity to educate you on what else is out there. So just to start off with, for anyone that's not aware, just a bit of a recap on who we are, who is ITConnexion. So we were founded back in 2003 and headquartered in Melbourne with a presence across multiple cities and countries. We have about 20 plus years, obviously, of experience and grown from a 2-person team up to a team now of 50 plus IT experts. And we support around about 200 to 300 businesses and non-for-profits nationwide. And I guess our philosophy is, to be the trusted advisor for you as an organization. And we help you to sort of leverage technology effectively. And our focus is the customer, and we achieve that by building a long-term relationship through trust and integrity. Teamwork is a big part, so we have a strong culture that values collaboration and community. And part of our services, we obviously include, managed help desk with sort of a reliable, responsive service desk team. Our cybersecurity and risk management capabilities. We're ISO 27001 certified and also provide Essential 8 compliance for our clients. And we can support you with your cloud services and infrastructure, whether it's AWS, Azure, whether it's your on-premise network, etc. And we also work very strongly with our clients and provide IT consulting and strategic planning for their businesses, which helps to align, the technology with the business goals. And lastly, not many people know it, but we also do website, software, app development as well. And that's a big part of it. Our services, we have around about 9 or 10 staff now dedicated to that, from custom applications, Power BI, etc. So I'll pass on to Matt from Access4, and thanks, Matt, for joining us and helping to share your expertise on the products. And we'll try to ensure that it's not too boring for anyone, but it's an opportunity again to shed light on what we can actually do together.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate. Very much want to thank you for the opportunity to get involved. There's nothing I like better than one, talking about voice and telephony, and two, talking to our partners' customers, because ultimately without the customer, without our partners, we don't have any success. So yeah, very, very happy to be here. So a little bit about, I'll probably start with a very 30 seconds quick, who am I? Matt Jameson. I've been at Access4 for the last 3 years. I'm a senior leader here and subject matter expert. I have been in the voice and telecommunications business for the last 25 years. There's not a lot that I haven't seen or been a part of, from analog to digital, digital to IP, IP to SIP, SIP to the cloud, everything and anything around voice and telephony solutions. That's me. And again, very, very happy to be here talking about what I love the most. So who is Access4 and why do we exist, and why is it you've probably never heard of us? So Access4 is a wholesale vendor of telecommunications products. We were founded in 2016, head office here in Melbourne, Victoria. We have about 125 employees now, and we were put on this wonderful earth to help our partners, like ITConnexion, deliver telephony services to their customers. So we have multiple products and multiple ways in which we can solve our customers' problems when it comes to voice and telephony solutions. As it says on the screen, we have over 600 partners like ITConnexion across Australia, New Zealand, and recently have branched out into the UK. We have over 163,000 subscriptions to our platform. What does that mean? It's about 14,000 businesses in Australia and New Zealand that rely on Access4 to deliver their telephony on a day-to-day basis. And we're very proud of the growth trajectory the company has had, and the fact that we're a privately owned Australian company that's rapidly growing in this space. So that's Access4. Again, you haven't heard of us because we're a channel-only business. We sit behind our partners. And why is it that we sit behind our partners? It's because they're the trusted advisor. That was one of the first things that Mark said around one of their specialties and one of the things that's their unique selling proposition. And absolutely it is. They understand you, your business, what it is you need, and the environment that our telephony solutions are going to sit in. And so it's a very important piece that they fulfill. And then what we do behind the scenes is we make sure that they have the expertise and support, both from a product and support perspective, to ensure that you get that end-to-end capability and delivery. So very important. We spent a lot of time building this. We're very proud of our ISO certifications. I think also in this day and age with compliance and security and essentially red tape becoming harder and harder for all of us to do business, it's important that you spend the time to ensure that you have the programs and procedures in place to get it right. And so we're very proud of the fact that we've spent some time to get our ISO certifications, and it also gives you, the end customer, some confidence in the business that you're working with. So why are we better together? Well, we've sort of covered a little bit of that, but ultimately it's that end-to-end solution. So I've sat in front of many customers talking about telephony solutions before, and probably one of the most common queries, questions or concerns that comes up, look, I'm really keen to go with your solution, Matt, but I want to make sure that there's no finger pointing, okay? And that's what we do better. That's what we do better together, because when you're working with your MSP, they understand your business, they understand the nature and environment of your technology stack and what's going in there, and how it is a voice solution is going to impact or not impact or benefit all of those things. So having that whole end-to-end solution and a partner that understands the environment that's going into, with then our platform uptime and strength, then that gives us the why we're better together scenario. So it's a great program. We love it. We love working with ITConnexion, and we love working with their customers. So I'm hoping to take you on a bit of a journey about some of the things we do, and just generally update you on all of the platforms, product sets and potential ways we can solve some solutions for you with our voice products. And as Mark said, hopefully it won't be a boring session. We'll have some informative information, and just to reinforce, there is the Q&A up there, so if you do have a question, do pop it in. We can see those come in. We do have a questions section at the end, but hopefully we may have some time to cover some of that off as we progress. All right, so a couple of things. I'll explain this slide and what have you, but this is sort of our product verticals. But I probably want to just also emphasise some of the architecture that's behind this before we get into it. So ultimately, as I said, we're an Australian business, but we stretch into Australia and New Zealand and also the UK now. And behind the scenes, we're connected to 5 of the Tier 1 carriers in Australia, 2 carriers in New Zealand. That gives us a really unique position in the marketplace for our Australian and New Zealand businesses, because we treat all of that Australia and New Zealand business as on net, and it's all local traffic traversing our infrastructure. Our infrastructure is data centres in multiple places: Melbourne, Sydney, Auckland, failover, 5/9 uptime. We're very proud of our infrastructure, we're very proud of our uptime, and it is a very robust business that we bring to you, our partner in ITConnexion, and ultimately to their customers. So when we get into the voicing, one of the things that I find these days is we start the question with you, the customer. Where do you see your telephony solution going? And most of the time we start with the question, do you want to have a Teams telephony solution, or would you like to be something outside of Teams? Because it's, let's face it, if we roll back to before the pandemic, that's when Teams really escalated. I do remember a really funny story. I had a person, it was back just before the pandemic started. They pinged me a message, and then as I was wandering out of the office, they said, "Oh, did you ring Bill?" I go, "Oh, no, I didn't ring Bill." "Oh, did you get my message?" I go, "No, I never got your message. I sent it to you on Teams." I don't use Teams. And roll down the line 5 years from now, who is there that doesn't use Teams? So again, it's an important position to understand, is Teams the right type of solution for you or not? We don't mind. We have a solution either in the Teams ecosystem or outside of the Teams ecosystem. And generally, as I say, we like to rule it in or out at the start.
I think if I can step in there, Matt, I think the difference as well, sort of Teams, there's additional licensing components for it. You need a Microsoft 365 business phone standard license when you're adding Teams. So that adds some licensing complexity to it. So some people opt obviously for UC Express, and some people will go for the Teams option.
Absolutely. And that is why it is very important to understand that direction early, because there are commercial implications to any of the decisions. And as you say, there are some quite heavy licensing requirements in the Teams environment to ensure that you've got a telephony platform that's going to work well for you.
Yep.
So explaining the three verticals that we've got up on the screen there, and Mark mentioned UC Express, so we'll start there. So UC Express is one of our UCaaS platforms, so UCaaS being Unified Communications as a Service. What that market, that's designed for a specific market. It's your PBX replacement type marketplace, but it's a handset heavy type solution where you might have some compliance requirements to ensure that there's a handset in and around. So the classic example would be potentially a school environment where there's a requirement to have a handset in every classroom, or an aged care facility where there's a requirement to have some sort of telephony device in every one of the residents' rooms, and where you don't really need to have a huge amount of voice traffic, but that handset needs to be there for that compliance. And so you want to keep the commercial cost down when you've got a large deployment of handsets, and UC Express is the absolute prime product for that type of environment. So that's where UC Express fits. Obviously, we just touched on Microsoft Teams there, and and it has its place in the marketplace. And if you are in that Teams environment, then we can talk about the commercials and the licensing and come up with a solution that fits. And then we also have our UC Excel UCaaS platform. So UC Excel is your robust, engine house type system that just does anything, anywhere, in any business. It has a substantial amount of uptime. It's about making sure that calls get through every time, all the time, regardless of whether it's an inbound or outbound type call environment. And you pay per user per month for all of the services that sit on that particular platform. And it's built on global carrier grade technology. So it's also a fantastic product set to help customers with the solution. So that's a really high level of the sort of three verticals that we have. But it's really about, that's the sort of first foundation. Then we build from there, depending on what you, the customer, your requirements are. And requirements have shifted. So probably worthwhile touching on, why do I see, why are we here today? Why are we having a webinar about voice? Why is voice still an important discussion point, and why is it something a business should take care of? So voice is still the only real-time medium where you can interact in a quick and efficient way. There is a reason, for example, why emergency services is still a voice-based solution. And do I ever see it going beyond that? Probably not, because unless you can have a real-time voice medium, it doesn't have that efficient cut-through. So while I acknowledge that voice has substantially changed recently and over the years as technology develops and the way in which we go about things. And what do I mean by that? I mean that as the generations have changed, the digital natives come into the world, they want to interact in different ways. We now have different communication mediums. But the principles of voice, which is how do I get an interaction with my customer, end requirement, user, service desk person, how do I get them from the outside world into my business and where they need to get to efficiently. So that's what a voice solution does. And it uses obviously voice as its real-time medium. But we acknowledge that there are now other mediums that need to traverse that environment. So for example, it's now about web chat. It's now about SMS. It's now about WhatsApp. It's now about social media platforms and how they integrate into your businesses. And so all of those mediums come into play in a voice solution today. So there's a lot at play. And then to Mark's earlier comments when we were opening the webinar, there are still a lot of businesses who have an on-prem PBX. And is it meeting its requirements? It may be. A lot of those PBXs were pretty robust technology from an architect and machinery perspective, but there is the reality that however long it's been in place, that's power supplies, fans, CPUs running on-prem in an environment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it sort of becomes a discussion about when rather than if, and we want to highlight some of the ways in which you can replace that with our solutions in a time that meets your needs. So getting into it a little bit more, so what do we add on? How do we make these things work better for your business? Give you some more tools other than just a voice and telephony platform. So the first thing we talk about is UC Insights. So UC Insights is the analytics piece. Businesses are lost without the power of understanding what's going on in their environment. And more we need to be able to make clever business decisions around what's happening in our business. So measuring things around how many calls in, how many calls out, did we lose a call, why did we lose a call, who answered the call, where did it get transferred to, all of those things are very important pieces of the puzzle. And so in our platforms, we do that through natively in UC Express. We have a product called Clobber that solves it for Microsoft Teams, and we also have a product called iCall Suite that solves it in the Excel. So we can deliver UC Insights across our entire product stack. Call recording, really important piece of the puzzle for the people these days. So ultimately, as it's saying, we deliver call recording natively in UC Express. We have a product that we add into the Microsoft stack called Call Cabinet, and we also use a globally recognised call recording product in Excel with Dubber. So just stop there for a second and touch on call recording. The world has changed quite dramatically as far as call recording is concerned. The requirements are much heavier, but it's also very important to understand that once you start a call recording or you have a recording in place, there is also some requirements on you and liabilities on you to ensure that you're doing that in a responsible and compliant manner. And the example might be, for example, that if you're taking credit card payments over the phone and you've got a call recording solution, how do you ensure that you're not storing those credit card information while taking a call recording, and also that you have alerted the appropriate people in all of the places that call recording is taking place, etc. And then where do you store those call recordings? How do you access them? How long do you keep them for? So there's a lot in call recording, and if your business is in that requirement or has a requirement or think you have a requirement, then do make sure you reach out to the ITConnexions team, and we'll sit down and really map out what it is you could, how you could use call recording. So just moving along now. So CRM integration. I love this one. This is something that has always been on the wish list when it comes to telecommunications, but it's not really until more recently, as we've moved into the cloud and the ability to interact with other products from a web perspective, it really has come into its own. And it really is the ability to identify how you can get more out of your CRM or ERP application that you're using on a day-to-day basis by integrating it into your telephony platform. And it can be just as simple as identifying who that caller is. So, hey, Matt from Access4, and I can see that it's Mark that's calling me. And hey, Mark, how's your day going? And it could also go as deep as right into that whole, I can see when he last called in, what the issue was, what the ticket number was, all of those sort of things. So again, being able to deliver that customer experience by integrating your telephony into your CRM is a fantastic place to add on, and a great way to get a benefit out of a new telephony solution.
Yep, I think you're spot on there, Matt, because I think most people don't realise you can actually do that. And I think probably later on you'll go on and explain that there's integrations for just about every CRM available, and custom made integrations as well. So we can help with that too.
Absolutely, and we will have a bit of a sneak peek at that as we progress on, so for sure.
Awesome.
All right. So contact center. So I feel like we've run a long way from a basic telephony solution to now we've got analytics and call recording, and we're integrating into databases, and now we're talking about contact center. So why do we talk about contact center? We've got multiple contact center solutions that we can apply to all of our UC verticals, and it is an important topic. And I think it's important to potentially change your perception or thought process around what is a contact center, or why would I want a contact center? I'm not a contact center. I don't need a contact center. It's not a big room filled with hundreds of people with headsets chattering away. These days, a contact center is about going back to that point that I made around why voice is different today and how there are multiple different mediums. What you will probably find is that all of your businesses are using at least two mediums in which to interact, and it might be just as simple as voice in a phone system and email through your email client. But quite regularly, it's becoming more than that. So it's becoming that web chat, it's becoming the SMS updates, all of those things. So all of those mediums come into play. And so that's when you start to think about, well, hang on, what's the power of measuring all of those things? What's the power of being able to route those interactions through to the right person in the right place of your business in the most efficient manner? Because there's just nothing worse than a customer who doesn't get through, or you get that complaint, I sent an email and nobody responded. Or if you do get onto a web chat and then it doesn't go anywhere. So this is why contact center can become a really important piece of the puzzle. And it can be as simple as, half a dozen users who could be dispersed across multiple locations, just simply measuring and having access to all of those interactions. So as I say, contact center can be an important piece of the puzzle. We have global product sets that we bring to the table, Zima, CC for Teams, and Roger 365. So we have a solution for any of our UC verticals and omni-channel options in all of those products to deliver some really great outcomes in the contact center space. And then we got some other bits and pieces that just help make the picture or the piece of the puzzle all fall into place just quite nicely. And that is just all these other bits and pieces that need to be considered, thought of, or added on as part of any type of telephony solution. So as I said, we mentioned about SMS. So it's an SMS gateway that's available for all of our UC verticals. Devices, so all sorts of handsets, headsets, etc. Again, talk to the team at ITC to decide what's the right fit, and it's also a really important discussion to have around the way in which you interact with your voice system. So just touching on headsets and devices and things like that for a while. 20 years ago, all we did was put a handset on desks. That was the only option. You only had an option for a handset. There was no such thing as a soft phone or a client or a web app, but now all of those things are available. But we still do need to have the conversation about, is a handset right for me, or is a headset right for me, or depending on that worker profile. One of the things I like people to consider is that I like a soft phone, I like a headset, I use headset and soft phone all the time. But if you've got high pressure, high touch environments where they're using telephony and voice on a regular basis, it's important to consider the handset as still a very valid part of the solution, in that it's robust, it's dedicated to one task and one task only, and that's delivering voice to you on a phone and a device in front of you. And often, the cost of a headset at $150 to $300 a pop, and they potentially only last 18 months versus a handset that might be $100 more expensive but typically lasts 3 to 5 years. So again, it's one of those things, what's fit for the right environment, and that's what we're here to do, is to help you, the customer, understand what's the best fit and the best solution to put all that together. So a couple of other little things just in this world. Can't believe that I'm still talking about eFax. I've got a 21-year-old and a 24-year-old children, and they're adults and they live at home and they don't pay board, and I thought it was going to be well and truly over by now, but it's not. I love them dearly.
I'm
but
getting there, mate. I'm getting there.
You're getting there. But it was a very funny conversation when I had to explain to them what a fax machine was, and that, you got a piece of paper and you fed your piece of paper into it, and that then sent some messages to somebody else so that they got that piece of paper. Quite amazing. But all jest aside, unfortunately, there are still industries where fax has some compliance requirements. So we do still have a solution for anyone that needs to solve their faxing problems.
We've already got a couple of clients that are still using eFax through Access4, and they're legal profession and real estate, surprisingly. So legal is a must.
It is indeed. Although I did recently have a real estate agent tell me that a lot of the faxing requirements for real estate agents was to do with submissions to the rental commission or whatever it is, to ensure that all of the bonds and bits and pieces are all appropriately done. But apparently there is now a portal that allows you to do some uploading, but there's still some requirements again in that for fax. But again, we're here to help and we've got a solution for it. So that's good. One of the other ones that's probably worth mentioning, and I touched on this when we were talking about the call recording component, and that is in there we've got a product called UC Paid. So UC Paid is a payment gateway system. It's ideal for those clients that might be taking credit card payments over the phone. So for some people that may not know, legislation changed April this year, where for you to be PCI compliant, you can't be in a situation where you're recording, jotting down, writing credit card payments, credit card details of any description in any way. So this product allows the ability for you to take payments over the phone, but does it in a PCI compliant way to ensure that you're meeting any compliance and legislative requirements in taking those payments. So again, great product to talk about if you're in that situation. And again, I would say to any clients that are out there, if you are taking payments of any description from a credit card perspective, you should have a good look at what your requirements are now, because your obligations have recently changed and you may not be aware that you're actually in breach. But again, we're here to help and we have got products that can help with that. And then you'll see down the bottom there we got this strange word called SaaS Boss. So SaaS Boss doesn't mean a lot to our end customers, but it does mean a lot to our Access4 family and our partners. SaaS Boss is our intellectual property, our IP. It's a product that we built that allows our partners to service their customers with all of these products in a single GUI, in a single pane of glass that allows them to order, configure, and deliver these services to you, the end customer. Again, we built it to make it easy. The idea of making it easy means that you get the best products and the best mix with the best partner delivered easily. So that's sort of Access4 and its product stack from that perspective. So moving along. So I'm not going to spend too much time, but what I wanted to do is just delve in a little bit deeper into a couple of the things and a couple of the products that we've mentioned along the way. So this one is our Zima Contact Center product, and this is just a snapshot of the type of agent environment that they would be working in. So you can sort of see in here that there's some performance metrics. There's some pretty typical environments where people would want information in a dashboard while they're doing their job, answering and taking calls in this Zima contact center type environment. So you can see there's answered calls, missed calls, lots of different ways you can measure this and also tailor all of this view to suit yourself. Again, this is quite a busy little view, but it's designed to show you that there's a lot of power in the Zima product set. Zima also sits on any and all of our platforms, so it's UC Express, Teams, and UC Excel, and could even be integrated into other solutions if required. So, sort of back to that, the start of the story where we talked about making a decision of whether you want to live in the Teams environment or not the Teams environment. So, as we said, if we've made the decision, we like the idea of Teams. Commercials stack up for us in the way we want to use it. Then it becomes how do we make the Teams environment more powerful? And one of the ways you can do that is with CC for Teams. So CC for Teams is a purpose-built Teams contact center. It lives natively in the Teams environment, and it nests very nicely into that Teams environment. So you sit and work in Teams. It updates present statuses and busy statuses throughout the Teams environment, so that even if you're not part of the CC for Teams contact center, you can see what's going on in your organisation and be part of that usual rich Teams eco messaging chat type environment, but still deliver a high-end contact center type environment. So CC for Teams is the product that, if you're all about the Teams, is a way to deliver on that high-end functionality. Likewise, we have Roger 365, also a Teams contact center. All of what I've just said about CC for Teams applies here. Why do we have two? Why two different type of solutions? It's to do with the way in which the licensing system of both of these works. So for an environment where you've got a single group of people answering and receiving calls in a service center or environment, and it's your typical sort of day shift environment, then that's CC for Teams will work beautifully in that environment. If, however, you're working multiple shifts 24/7, you've got shifts coming in and out and people logging in and out, then Roger 365 has a different way in which it licenses itself and can sometimes be a better outcome when we've got that type of environment. So, but again, you don't need to worry about that from a customer perspective. The idea is you bring that problem to us and we then look at how we solve it and which of the products is going to be the best way to do so. So Call Cabinet. Call Cabinet is a Teams compliant call recording solution. So while you can natively do call recording in the Teams environment, it's not necessarily always compliant. The other thing is that it doesn't have the add-on ability to, when you start to add your sentiment analysis, transcription, and all of those components that we now like out of that rich call recording. As much as you can, there is also obviously costs associated to that Teams environment when doing some of those things. And again, we find that Call Cabinet is a very rich product set that delivers great functionality at a great commercial cost in that Teams environment. All right. So one of my spots that I like, Red Cactus. So Red Cactus is a product that we brought into our ecosystem. It's one of two that sits in our environment that helps us with CRM integrations. So to Mark's point earlier, there are thousands of CRMs already pre-built and readily available for us to plug into. So a couple of those is we've got a couple that all of the things you would typically, so your Salesforce and your HubSpots and all of those big names, they're already in there and available, and the ability to talk to those platforms is quite rich. And the amount of information you can pull from those databases on the basis of caller ID coming in and through the system is quite substantial. And it really does allow you then to do a number of things. in pulling up that information to, again, help the person who's answering your call cut through to where it is they need to be, who is this person calling, why are they calling, when did they call last, how is it that I'm going to help them, and this tool does all of that very, very, very quickly. And you can also, if there's one we haven't integrated to, then we have a program that allows us to build that out, and while there are costs involved, they're generally not substantial, and when we can add that to our portfolio of integrations. Some that are of note recently is we can do Smokeball, which is part of the legal industry, and we've also got some integrations into the medical industry as well, so that are quite specific to the Australian marketplace. So that's yes, Mark.
Matt, just on the CRM integrations, some of the things that you can do with them is like, can you take sort of the transcriptions from the call and can that be added into the notes, for example, into a client's record, say in Salesforce, HubSpot or Zoho or whatever CRM?
So yes, is the short answer. There's some complexities around depending which database, which CRM are we integrating to, and for some of them they're actually doing some of those processes themselves. So it's a matter of working out what's the most complementary way to do it. But the simple answer is exactly that. Yes, you can take that transcription, deliver the link, and embed it into the database. That then allows that to be there for future lookups of what happened on that call and transcriptions. So yeah, 100%.
Right.
All right. Moving along. So Clobber is an analytics piece. It's a great little starter. If you're not in the contact center space, but you want to deliver reporting and understanding of what's happening in your team's telephony environment, then Clobber's a fantastic analytics product to do that. iCall Suite, similar. So this is I'm not in the Teams environment. I've got my UCXL telephony product that's delivering all that I need out of my telephony and phone system, but I just want to understand what's happening and some great analytics and data that you can get out of that. So that's a lot. There's a lot there. We've sort of moved through all of that environment. And I hope what I've been able to show you is that there is a huge amount of flexibility in products that we can help you solve the problem of your voice environment in your business, and also do it with a bunch of features and a bunch of add-ons that might actually improve the way you're doing business, or improve the way your clients see you, or improve the way your customer experience to your clients is by having a robust solution that's delivering better outcomes. So we sort of touched on this before, security and compliance. Obviously, ITConnexion, Access4, we got a bunch of ISO certifications. Mark touched on being, in the Essential 8. Again, I'm not the IT MSP. That's what Mark is all about. You want to talk voice, I'm your man. But it, again, strengthens that story of why we are better together and why we can deliver a fantastic solution to you, Mark's customer, ITConnexion's customer, and make sure that we've got the perfect fit. So what do we do next? Well, what we'd ask you to do is get in touch with the team. Get in touch with the team and let's do a voice and IT health check. What are we looking for? So some of the things that we talked about, and again, we talked about PBXs still in the ground. There were lots of them. There still are lots of them. Some of the things I'd ask you to ask yourself: Have I got a phone system that's still in the comms room running and doing my thing? Yes, I have. So to my point, power supplies, fans, all of those sort of things have been running 24/7. The other thing is, when was the last time it had a firmware update? Is it susceptible to PABX hacking, for example? And then if you do have a phone system still in there, I'd ask you, how do you access your voicemail? Do you do it with 4 zeros or a 1, 2, 3, 4 password? Because that's what most of them used to be. And that, again, is a massive security risk to your business. So get in touch with the team and they can make the assessments to help you understand when we put the voice solution into into play as being now is the time for us to do it. And it might be that it's not today, it might be next quarter or next year, but at least we understand when we should be looking at it.
Yep. Appreciate that, Matt. I think, yeah, it's important just, obviously for current clients, reach out to your account manager. Welcome to reach out to myself directly, or anyone else. Please reach out through our website, through the contact form on there. I think Matt raised some points about, security of the existing sort of traditional PABX solutions. But I think it's important, if you are interested, have a think about what you want to achieve based on what we can offer you through IT Connexion and Access4. There's obviously, it's a completely different world to what it was, 4 or 5 years ago. And what we'll be looking for and what we will talk to you about is, what do you want to achieve now and in the future? So that will help us to determine what's the best solution for you, not only now, but moving forward. And we'll even look at things like your current phone bill and use that as a basis for understanding what your costs are at the moment, and it will help us to sort of provide you a proposal that makes sense, and you can compare against what your current solution provides you. Not only that it's probably a limited solution at the moment, but the value add from our side is adding the integrations, the call recording, the analytics, and other solutions. I think Matt touched briefly on some of the omni-channel stuff, but we're also seeing people integrating not only with web chat, SMS, but also WhatsApp, things like that. So there's lots of other ways of communicating with your clients now.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well said.
Thank you.
So we're sort of at the question stage. There's a couple of questions I can see that have dropped in. So one of those is, how can Access4 scale without disrupting our existing workflows or introducing hidden costs? So if you're already on the Access4 platform, then that's easy. You can scale up and scale down. Just talk to the ITConnexion team on how to get that done, and that we are absolutely built for that. If we're transitioning from an old PBX into the cloud, then that's just about having a solid, robust project plan. Plenty of ways we can do that, from diversions, exchange-based diversions, planned cutovers, et cetera, to minimise any harm or disruption to any services migrating to the cloud. We've done it hundreds of times before. The team at ITConnexions have done it hundreds of times before. It's just, let's have a chat and we'll work through what's the best project plan to get you the outcome you need.
Yep.
Next one there is, how does Access4 ensure it keeps pace with future trends like AI-driven call analytics or integration with collaboration tools, so that we're not locked into outdated systems? Fantastic question. So ultimately, we pride ourselves on being fundamentally a SaaS business. It's a very rare environment for us to be in, that telecommunications environment as a SaaS business. So, we try and deliver our services in such a way that you turn them on and turn them off as you need, right? Now, obviously, there are some potentially some contracts and bits and pieces that need to be entered into depending on liabilities and what have you. And again, I encourage you to talk to the ITConnexion teams about that. But for us, that's our goal. That's how we build things. We have, I only got this stat the other day. I think we have something like 22,000, 27,000, a lot of hours from our dev team, non-stop, doing this all day, every day. So as I said, we're 130 employees. We've got about 30 people in product. We've got about 30 people in dev. And all we do all day, every day is work out what it is the future of voice is, and how do we work out how we productize that and deliver it to our partners so that they can easily deliver it to their customers. So we are absolutely a tip of the spear when it comes to that. And as for AI, while we're taking a conservative approach to AI, we are driving a greater, and the reason we're taking a conservative approach is things like data sovereignty, data and traversing the globe, because a lot of AI solutions that involve voice at the moment are sending voice offshore, and as I say, there's data sovereignty, there's latency, voice quality issues, all sorts of things in that cutting edge space. We have an AI reception tool and IVR that's currently in place, and talk to the team at ITConnexion if you want to see that. And we have a massive roadmap for our AI solution moving forward.
Awesome.
I think, I know maybe we got another question. Let me just have a quick look.
Yeah,
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, how does Access4 make sure we never miss a critical call even during outages? I don't think we've, in my time anyway, I don't think we've had an outage, but yeah, maybe you can answer that one, Matt.
Look, so the first place we start with that we build everything for scale, and we have very robust tools and pieces in place to ensure that that's the basis. That's where we start, right? But I've been in this game a long time, and outages are things that can occur, and often outages can impact you even though it may not be an Access4 outage. It may be something to do with an upstream provider that then creates a problem for us. So there's a few things. Again, we build diversity into our architecture. So I mentioned earlier 5 upstream tier 1 carriers that we're connected to. That allows us to switch traffic if there's a problem with one of those carriers. But I'd also say this is a fantastic discussion to have. How important is voice to you, and what are you going to do if there is an outage? And let's plan for it. So there's lots of ways that you can plan for it. So, you know, it could be that, are we planning for an internet connection outage? Therefore, we need robust, resilient connections to, you know, service 1, service 2, service 3. But it's also could be, can we operate from a mobile? What does a soft phone client? What happens if again, what are we planning for? It's a great discussion to be having, and I think it's just a matter of understanding how critical it is to then how far do you go down that disaster recovery path to ensure that you don't have outages.
Yep, spot on. Agreed. I think from our point of view, yeah, we see it as well that, you know, there's going to be an outage at some stage. It may not be you, it may be the upstream carriers, it might be ISP. If you're in Teams, it could be Microsoft. You know, there's so many eventualities. I think that the core thing to understand is that probably, I don't know what your SLA is, Matt, but it's probably in the 99.9 or so range. I think that covers pretty much most of the time. So
absolutely. So and again, we are very proud of our uptime stats. So yeah, and as I say, that's where we start. Got another little question there. It's one I have been asked before, and I'll do my best to answer it correctly. And is there any particular reason why it's named Access4, as in why number 4 and not maybe 9 or something, for example? So it's a conversation I would encourage you to have with our founder, because ultimately it's him who put the Access4 tag in. I'll try and give you the answer that he gives, and that was that he had another entrepreneurial project on the go that he'd called Access3, and he decided to shelve that and move on, and came up with his next entrepreneurial thing and couldn't come up with a name, so he called it Access4, and it stuck, and here we are.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine it as anything else anyway.
No, that's exactly right. And we're here to stay, so I don't think we'll ever see an Access5.
Sounds good. Any more questions? I think that's it for the moment.
We have a few minutes left. I think if anyone has any other questions, maybe you can pop in the Q&A section.
We'll give people another 30 seconds or so, and then I think we might end up the meeting or the webinar.
Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah, while we're waiting, as mentioned by Matthew and Mark, if you have any questions or need to book a session with Access4, you can go through with your account managers, through Mark, through myself, or Yeah, or just email us, and then we can book a session with you, and then go through a more tailored demo
Yep.
for your organization.
All right, I think we've got another question. If our
Last one,
organisation
yeah.
uses Access4, how straightforward is it to export our data into our own data warehouse for analytics processing? I'm assuming that means like Power BI, etc.
Yeah, so again, depending on the nature of the solution and what are pieces of the puzzle, relatively straightforward. So we can give you can have access to our API through SaaSPOS. So that is the first place in which you can then, once you've got access to the API, obviously decide what information you want and how you want to bring it into the data warehouse. And then same sort of process for many of our add-on products. So whether it's an analytics product or a call recording product, we're very much driven on products that have API integration, and so you would be able to get access to parts or components of that API to do that, and then be able to manipulate that data however you want through your warehouse.
Awesome. All right, I think let's end it there. Give people maybe a minute back of their day, and yeah, appreciate your time, Matt. It was certainly a great learning experience. Some additional things that I learnt as well, yeah, appreciate your time, and hopefully. It's been an experience for everybody else. Please feel free to reach out to us to discuss any requirements that you have, and we'll be glad to start that conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We would like to thank you, both speakers, for sharing their insights and expertise. Thank you, Matthew, and thank you also, Mark, for today's webinar. It was valuable, very engaging session. We love it. And big thank you as well for attendees for taking the time to join us and participate. Your presence and also interactions make these events meaningful. We look forward to seeing you at our future sessions. Thank you very much, everyone. You have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.